Okay, let's call the September 16th meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission to order. Can we call the roll, please?
Andre Spinelli.
Here.
Jared Gardner.
Here.
Radhika Krishna. Here. Scott Poulos.
Here.
Jeff Ron.
Here.
Brandy Eber. Here. Daniel George.
Here.
Jim Winchester and Greg Strike are excused. You have a quorum. Thank you.
And do we have any disclosures from the commissioners? Commissioner Eber?
I was absent from the August 8th meeting, so I abstained from the consent agenda on those dates, on that date.
Commissioner Poulos? Nothing? Commissioner Krishna?
Yes, in case 2024-0088, I was at the Downtown Community Council meeting that the petitioner presented at. As you can see in the minutes in the packet, I did not participate in the discussion on this item, nor did I vote on it.
Doesn't seem to be a conflict there. Any other disclosures from any other commissioners? Seeing none, we'll move on. Oh. I was also absent and will not be participating in the consent agenda. Motion to approve the consent agenda. It's moved by Commissioner Rohn, seconded by Commissioner George. Anyone wishing to pull any items for discussion? Seeing none, if there are anyone object to the consent agenda? If there's no objections, consent agenda is approved. We'll move on to the public hearing. The procedure by which the public may speak to the commission at its meetings is after the staff presentation is completed on public hearing items, the chair will ask for public testimony on the issue. Persons who wish to testify will follow the time limits established in the commission rules of procedure. Petitioners, including all his or her representatives, will receive 10 minutes. Representatives of groups, PTAs, community councils will receive 5 minutes. Individuals will receive 3 minutes. When your testimony is complete, you may be asked questions by the commission. You may only testify once on any issue unless questioned by the commission. Any party of interest wishing to appeal shall first file with the planning director within 7 days of the commission's decision made on the record a written notice of intent to appeal in accordance with AMC 2103-050A4A. Commission recommendations to the Anchorage Assembly are not appealable. Can we please have the staff presentation in case 2024-0088?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The South Central Foundation is requesting to rezone the southern portion of a lot from the PLI zoning district to the B2C zoning district. The southern portion of the lot contains 3.37 acres of land within a 5-acre parcel. The planning department has already approved the preliminary plat to subdivide the property to match with the proposed rezone. State and municipal agencies were routed on this application, and none of those reviewing agencies had any objections. The planning department routed this case to the Downtown Community Council and mailed 194 public hearing notices. No written comments were received from the community council or the public. I did receive several phone calls from members of the public that expressed their verbal support for the rezone. The planning department reviewed the approval criteria for a rezone and found that all of the approval criteria are met. The Anchorage 2040 land use plan map identifies the property as city center, and the implementing zoning district for that land use classification, city center, is the B2C district. The neighboring lot is zoned B2C. Therefore, the planning department's recommending approval of the rezoning, subject to an effective clause that they record the final plat. and a draft assembly ordinance is found on page 7 of your packet. The applicant, I think, also has a presentation for you. That concludes my presentation. Thanks.
Thank you. Are there any questions for staff? Seeing none, we'll invite the petitioner to speak.
Hi, everyone. My name is Silber, and use planner with Dowell, and I'm here representing South Central Foundation about a proposed rezone for a portion of the property located at 225 Eagle Street. I have a map here showing the location. It's at the northeast corner of East 3rd Avenue and Eagle Street in the northeast portion of downtown, and also a closer view of the site. The legal description is Lot 1, Block 36, East Edition, Anchorage Town Site. It's approximately 5 acres and currently zoned Public Lands and Institutions, or PLI, and it's a portion of the old Alaska Native Hospital site. And the site is still owned by U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Indian Health Service, but South Central Foundation operates the Kiana Clubhouse facility on the southern portion of the lot. And they have an agreement with DHHS to purchase that portion of the property following a plat and rezone. So the plat is already in progress. The purpose of the plat, which received approval in June 2024, is to divide existing Lot 1 into, existing Lot 1 into 2 properties. The property to the north, proposed Lot 1B, is unlikely to develop in the near future due to steep slopes, and it would remain under DHHS ownership. The southern portion, the portion developed by South Central Foundation, is proposed Lot 1A, highlighted in yellow, and that is the portion that would be transferred to South Central Foundation ownership. The rezone application is only for proposed Lot 1A. So the current zoning, as shown, is Public Lands and Institutions, and it's primarily surrounded by Central Business District periphery, residential office, heavy industrial, and Public Lands and Institutions parks zoning. Just a little bit more about the current operations on the site. South Central Foundation's Kiana Clubhouse is a day treatment program that provides primary care and behavioral services for adults with severe and persistent mental illness. And that's blended with Alaska Native tradition and in a nurturing community environment. And that facility has been in operation for over 20 years on the site. Currently, South Central Foundation is beginning to explore potential expansion of similar uses at the location in the future. They're just in a high-level study phase at the moment, but they've looked at the zoning, and B2C is a better fit for the current operations on the site, as well as potential future development on the site. And here's a view of the Anchorage 2040 land use plan designations in the area. All of the purple is city center designation, which supports a rezone to B2C. Most of the surrounding area is also designated city center, and some of the properties have already been rezoned to B2C, including the property directly to the east and to the southwest are zoned B2C. Lot 1B, the northern portion of the lot that's not proposed as part of this rezone to B2C, that is designated as park or natural area in the 2040 land use plan, and it will remain as PLI, which is also consistent with the 2040 land use plan. So just in conclusion, the rezone of proposed Lot 1A, the southern portion of 225 Eagle Street, from PLI to B2C is consistent with the 2040 land use plan. It's consistent with current and potential future uses on the site, and also with the zoning of the surrounding neighborhood. So in line with the staff recommendation, we are requesting approval of this rezone to be finalized after the plat is recorded. Thank you.
Are there any questions for the petitioner? Commissioner Krishna.
Sure. And I realize the petitioner may not know the full, development plans for this site, but I'm wondering if there are any plans that you'd like to share, or any developments that are anticipated that are not doable under PLI, and which is precipitating this rezone request.
Sure. I'm sorry, I forgot to mention that there are representatives from South Central Foundation present, so if anyone has questions that they'd like to direct to the applicant instead of me, please feel free to do so. I know that they're in the planning stages and the current uses are healthcare and similar uses, and those are allowed under the B2C zone, but not necessarily under the PLI zone. I guess that's my answer.
Any other questions? I have one question. If given the if you were given the choice, would you have liked to bring the plat and the rezone to this commission at the same time?
Sure. I think part of the decision that goes into that is that the plat is just an abbreviated plat, so it's an administrative process which has less risk involved. So there are pros and cons to bringing them together, but it can sometimes be an advantage to do an abbreviated plat outside of a public hearing process.
I didn't realize that you didn't have to go to the planning board. So,
Yeah.
thank you. I see no more questions. You do have 5 minutes and 47 seconds left for rebuttal, but we're going to open it up to the public.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Anybody wishing to testify in this case, please step forward. Seeing no one, I will allow you your 5 minutes and 47 seconds of rebuttal if you wish to take it.
Thank you. Yeah, I feel like there's not much more to say other than the rezone is supported by the 2040 land use plan, and it's the intention for this area of downtown to be rezoned to B2C. That's it.
Thank you. With that, we will close the public hearing. What is the will of the body? We have a motion by Commissioner Gardner. Commissioner Gardner, would you like to state your motion?
Sure, I move in case 2024-0088 to recommend to the Anchorage Assembly approval of a rezone from PLI district to B2C district, subject to recording a suitable replat.
Thank you. That was seconded by Commissioner Krishna. Commissioner Gardner, would you like to speak to your motion?
Just briefly, I'll note it looks pretty straightforward. I think the approval criteria are met for the reasons identified in the staff packet, and in particular, the proposed district is the implementing zoning district for the designation in the comprehensive plan for this site. We also didn't receive any testimony from the public this evening or written testimony from the public in our packets.
Anybody else wishing to speak to the motion? Seeing none, I will add that staff indicated that they did get verbal support. I'll call for the vote. That motion passes. Thank you. Now we'll move on to commissioner comments. Are there any commissioners wishing to make any comments? I see no commissioners. Francis, would you like to make a comment?
Through the chair, yeah, just I wanted to read a part of code in chapter 2 of our zoning code, where it outlines the decision-making powers of all the boards and commissions. I just wanted to read to you. The Planning and Zoning Commission may act as the platting authority when a preliminary plat is considered concurrently with a rezone.
Yeah, that's kind of why I asked that question. I was like, I didn't know why you would do it a different way.
Right on.
Thank you. Any other commissioner comments? I do have one that I'll make, but anybody else wants to talk first? Okay, Commissioner Krishna and I were invited to the Assembly Rules Committee to give an update on planning and zoning, which is something new. I don't know if any other chairs had been asked that before, but either way, Commissioner Krishna wasn't able to make it, but I did attend and got some feedback / questions from the Assembly, and also I did a little research on the duties of the commission, and one thing that came to light, came to light, was that the commission, one of the commission's responsibilities is to review the department's annual work plan, and I do have memories of doing that at one time, although it seems like it was a long time ago. I don't know if any of you were around to review the department's work plan. But I guess that's one comment that I hope that you could take back to the department, Francis, is that maybe we should be reviewing the department's annual work plan, as it is listed as one of the duties of the commission. And then there was some discussion from the Assembly about the idea of them bringing ordinances forward and that bypassed Planning and Zoning Commission. And they did ask for our comment on that. They alluded to the possibility of having future meetings together to discuss this topic. And so I guess I wanted to bring that forward for comments. I mean, they were asking me, and I was like, well, I really haven't discussed this with the commission, so I don't feel that comfortable speaking for them. But so I guess I wanted to bring that up and see what you guys thought. Commissioner Krishna.
Sure, I wasn't able to attend, but I did watch the recording today. I would encourage everyone to do that. It was the Rules Committee meeting from last Thursday, I believe. I just want to read a couple of quotes that I wrote down to elaborate on what Chair Spinelli just said. One of the pretty concrete questions that they asked was whether this commission would be willing to have a discussion at a future Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, and possibly even passing a resolution that makes recommendations about the commission's role in code, which currently is to review basically every Title 21 text amendment. One of the things that they mentioned was that I think there's appetite right now to do additional Title 21 changes, and they said that right now, if something went from, say, the Assembly to Planning and Zoning and back to the Assembly with all of the requirements for public noticing, it would take, essentially if something was submitted right now, it would take to the spring. And I think there's some interest in moving faster. I'm not sure there is a different process that we have right now. I'm just passing along some comments. I also want to share that at least 2 Assembly members in that meeting said that they would like to see us generate recommendations that go to the Assembly. I think that would be a rather different role for us, but certainly one that is in Title III as written right now, which is that we have the ability to make recommendations on future actions related to Title 21 or land use, which isn't something that I've seen this commission do in the 6 years that I've been seated on here. So I just wanted to add that and open it up to any other comments.
Francis.
Just briefly, I believe that long-range planning does present the annual work plan annually to the commission. I think Ryan Yell, the long-range planning manager, or Tom Davis, but I think that they do present it to you guys.
I remember seeing the work plan many years ago
Okay.
at 4700 Elmore in the bigger, one of the meeting rooms during a lunch meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission. And that's the last time I remember. I could be mistaken, but given that none of these commissioners seem to remember, I'm thinking that that hasn't happened in a while.
Okay.
Could be something that fell off around the time of COVID. I don't know. Anyone else have comments on Commissioner Gardner? I see Commissioner Gardner in the queue. Are you trying to get in there? Or?
Yeah, Chair. I, as a commissioner, would like to speak. I see that fellow commissioner has the floor now, but what's the trick?
We'll do that. We'll do it this way. We'll go old school. Commissioner Ron, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Appreciate the discussion and Chair and fellow commissioner bring forward the comments. I do look forward to reviewing that Rules Committee meeting. Thinking back on the cases that we did hear, I feel like there was some clunkiness that perhaps some greater dialogue between this commission and the Assembly might help resolve if we are to see more of those cases moving forward in the future. I would put forward that perhaps not a formal public meeting would be the appropriate venue, but a work session if allowable to have that type of dialogue at least initially.
Yeah, I think the idea, if there's more than 3 of us or more than 3 of them in a room, and then it's a public meeting. So, but it is, when you do it at 4700 Elmore or I guess anywhere else, you're not lined up here. It's a little more like a work session, but it's still a public meeting technically, so. Commissioner Gardner.
Yeah, I guess I could see the value in some sort of structure like that, because what I was going to ask originally, and I am interested in watching the recording as well, but did you have a sense of from their comments, is there something specific they're looking back from us at this point, or they're just kind of raising questions and we could go through some sort of work session or discussion with them to kind of work through what that might look like?
Now this is tricky because I've let some of my opinions be quite known over the last few months. So one thing I've been telling a lot of people is that we have the administration and staff moving in a direction and the Assembly moving in a direction. And I kind of feel like everyone wants the same thing, but they're not, like their energies seem to be not focused in the same direction. And so I think the Assembly wants to align everyone's interests and try to move forward cohesively. Maybe just trying to stumble a little bit less than, say, perhaps with the home initiative. And it did get the feeling that they're requesting the Planning and Zoning Commission to take a more active role in planning and zoning initiatives and kind of making our opinions known of what we want to see come forward. I mean, Assemblymember Voland he said it here in the home initiative testimony, but he said it again of like he thinks that we should be initiating code changes. And, I had some conversations about that, and I was like, well, you guys are elected officials. We're just volunteers here. And I don't know how comfortable we feel in doing that. But either way, I thought having a work session with the Assembly, the Planning and Zoning Commission, and staff together would probably be good for focusing the energy in a positive direction to hopefully improve things for Anchorage. And there are some things that could be fixed. Commissioner Krishna.
Yeah, I guess just to bring some specifics into this discussion, I think there are things like special limitations that we talked a lot about during the home initiative that kind of is just hanging out in my brain because we never really reached resolution on it. Things like the old version of Title 21 and maybe even an older version of Title 21 that we heard about. I will say maybe my takeaway is that we can pass resolutions, I guess, is what I guess I've learned from this recording, and that might be a tool for us in the moment when we're in the middle of a case to essentially have a larger discussion or recommend to either staff or to a different body that an issue be taken up and reviewed. And that's not a tool we've used in the past, but it might be a tool that we use in the future.
Yeah, I'll just, if I can jump back in. Yeah, I think my question was partly not so much on specific substantive items, but just process-wise. And as one example, exactly that, if we have thoughts, because I know we've in the past made findings, included in our findings a suggestion, one way or the other, but I could see that getting buried more easily or lost, maybe is a better way to put it, than a resolution or some other mechanism. But I think, yeah, we would need some sort of process to understand just ourselves what that actually looks like in terms of going about and having something through there. And maybe just an informal discussion through a public work session it could be a helpful way to do that.
Yeah, I think that aside from volunteering more of our time, I think it would be very beneficial to do that. So, if anyone asks me again, that's what I'll report. Anybody, any further comment? If not, we look for a motion to adjourn. Moved and seconded. Any objection? Hearing none, we are adjourned.